Okay, we are live. So, welcome everybody to our weekly Wednesday night live stream. I am your host, Dana Morningstar, and this is a live stream that I try to do every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I haven't been able to be here the last few times. There's kind of been a variety of reasons, but I think we've got everything figured out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go the full 3 hours tonight, but we'll go as long as we can. So Kenneth is here. Kevin is here. Kamami, Jamie, Sylvia, welcome, guys. Hello, hello. How has everybody been doing? How is your week? How have your past couple weeks been? Changing my life? Rafaela, all the way from Germany. My goodness. Hello. U and A is here. Ran Lion. Metamorphosis. Kenneth says he's working too much. Oh boy, how are things going, Kenneth? I've heard a lot of coronavirus cases are going up in kind of different lockdown facilities. That's got to be that's got to be scary. Darlene is here. Dave is here from Liverpool, England. Hello. Gareth says greetings, Earthlings. Kevin says he's working too little. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like there's no in between there, right? People are either working a ton right now or they're unemployed or just barely working at all. Kenneth asks, Dana, what kind of tea is it that you used to drink? The brand was Yogi tea and the flavor was Egyptian licorice, which tastes nothing like licorice. And it just absolutely delicious. You don't need to add anything to it. No sugar, no milk, no honey, no nothing. It's just perfectly balanced tea. He asks if I still drink it. I do. I do. I haven't had it in quite a while, but I do still enjoy a good cup of tea. Uh, oh, Jack. Jack says, where have you been? He says, I just barely got here. Um, let's see, where have I been? It was technical issue after technical issue that was going on. And then I think there was 1 week, was it last week? That I had planned to be here and then I took a quick nap and I way overslept. Oh my goodness. Yes, Gareth says, Dana, I found out an interesting fact. Would you like to hear? Of course. Yes, go for it. Jack, my goodness, a lot has happened. He says there's been 2 deaths in his family and 2 funerals. How did that go? Last time we were here, you were saying that your grandmother had passed away, and there was just all kind of a mix of emotions about you really didn't want to go to the funeral, but there was this family pressure for you to go. What ended up happening? Jack says, time to give Zoom the elbow drop, then the leg drop, then the body slam. Yes, it's been beyond frustrating. I think so. What I learned the first time around is that it was my browser that some either Zoom had an update or Chrome had an update. So it just wasn't working. It was sending me in this loop. Um, so then I switched over to Firefox. And then there was this weird thing where the camera would, like the lighting, it would just flood everything with light. And so it almost looked like everything was Technicolor. I just don't know. Frustrating. Uh, oh boy. Samantha says, my ex, he's now hoovering, saying he admits he's an alcoholic and he's going to change if I take him back. I've got a good support network around me now. Counseling has begun. I'm keeping busy to distract. Good for you for staying busy and getting some counseling and staying busy to just distract all of that. I hope you can see the manipulation in what he's saying, because that's not cool on his end to say, oh yeah, you know what, I admit I'm an alcoholic and I've got all these problems, and but then to kind of hold himself hostage, but I'm not going to change. I'm only going to change if you take me back. It's like holding a gun to his head. Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. You're hurting me, kind of a thing. It's completely ridiculous. So uh that alone would be, I mean, that alone is problematic. And the reality is, I think anybody that's ever gone through addiction of any kind knows that that motivation has to come from within. He has to actually want to make those changes if they're going to last. That initial motivation might come from without. He might, now that he's realizing, oh, I'm losing my family, he might get that motivation that he needs to do something different, but it's not going to last until he realizes that he needs to change for himself, because his sobriety can't be based off of your relationship. That's not fair to you, and it's not going to work for him. Because what happens if you have another fight, or if you break up, or if something else happens? So, yeah, not to mention, I think it's completely reasonable and appropriate for when a person has a partner with an active addiction, especially if it's to the point where it's that destructive that they're getting help for it, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Um, to say, you know what, I need to see some sustained change. So I know that the drinking is hard on all of us, you included, but I can't have this in my life. I can't have this in the life of the kids. We need to see sustained change. And really, really, I would say at least 3 years of sobriety at a minimum to really see if he's going to be able to keep those changes going. Because again, if you've ever experienced addiction or been around a person with addiction, and not even addiction, behavior change in general, it's not easy. No matter what it is, getting organized, losing weight, stopping smoking, stopping drinking, any of these things, there's always that period, not always, the 99% of the time, there's kind of this 2 steps forward, 1 step back type dance that we all do with change. So it has nothing to do with you not trusting him. It has nothing to do with anything other than behavior change is not smooth sailing. If it was, we would all be in great shape and addiction free, and you know people would change like that, and they don't, because it's not easy. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be taking him back in if there's nothing but talk of change. Let's see. Oh, Huffle Mom. Thank you. She says, Dana, you have no idea how much we missed you. Oh, I am so sorry, you guys. I felt terrible that I was just getting to the point where I was feeling completely defeated about this and just beyond frustrated. Technology, you know how I am with technology. It just about brings tears to my eyes. I just get so frustrated with it. So, let's see. Let me scroll up. Okay, yes. Okay, Jack said, yes, my maternal grandmother died, then my maternal grandfather died about 2 weeks later. And I'm sorry, Jack, did you go to both services? I'm not clear about that. Leslie says, I've been listening to you all day. Thank you. I'm going through so much right now, and I desperately need to know I'm not alone. Oh, girl, you are so not alone. You are so not alone. We all kind of joke around here. It's the club that nobody wants to be a part of, but we're also glad there's so many members, kind of a thing. So, yes, I'm my heart goes out to you that you're going through so much. There's a lot going on in the world right now, which that in and of itself is a lot for anybody to handle, let alone all of the extra stuff with dealing um, with just deeply dysfunctional relationships and the pain of all of that. So yes, but just one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. You know the direction that you need to head. You just keep moving towards what you know is for your highest and greatest good and what's nourishing for you. And you just triple up on your self-care right now. That's the number one thing. If anybody is really struggling right now, let's just go back to the basics. Number one is self-care. So taking some time, and it doesn't have to be super time intensive. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be this elaborate process. Making time at night to unwind and to listen to like a guided meditation, or maybe just something completely different, like a comedy or something at night to kind of wind down, or um, some relaxing music, or taking a bath, or taking a little bit longer of a shower. Um, Reminding yourself, you know, you have value, you matter, and that this too shall pass. This too shall pass. All of the feelings, the intensity right now, you won't always feel this way forever. So it does get, this burden does get easier to bear over time. And it helps when you're around other people that can kind of help carry it. So there's lots of different support groups out there. I always encourage people to join a handful. Um, we're so outrageously fortunate that we live in a time and place where there's the internet. So there's so many support groups out there that are online that run 24 hours a day. And that's just absolutely fantastic. So you truly are never alone. I have a support group. There's mine on Facebook is look for it under groups. I have a Facebook page, but then I have a Facebook group. And the group, they're both called Thrive After Abuse, but you want to make sure to join the group because that one's closed. So yeah, that one's something to consider. But you can also do a search for like narcissistic abuse or what have you, and find a handful of other groups as well. Darlene was talking about, um, yeah, with the ex and coming back and saying, oh, you know, I'll get sober only if you take me back. And she said, yeah, it's just another control tactic too, like threatening suicide. Yep. That's exactly what that's well said. It's a control tactic. Yep. Um, let's see. Leslie says, my husband is super covert and just inadvertently admitted he's still cheating. It hurts and it makes me so desperate and wanting to cling. This time I just want to stop, let go, and walk away. Well, I don't blame you. And is that is that an option? Is that a possibility at this point? You know, can you stop, let go, and walk away? And yes, I mean it does, it hurts so deeply. Um, and I can absolutely understand that kind of that desperation and that scramble and wanting to wanting to cling to the relationship that you thought you had, and the marriage to the man that you thought you married. And it's really difficult to truly come to terms with the fact of, oh my gosh, I am in love with who he pretended to be. I'm in love with the life that I thought we had, but none of this is real. He's just been living a double life the whole time. I don't know. I don't even know who I'm married to. That's a difficult realization to wrap your mind around. Um, I wasn't married to either one of mine that were pathological liars and living a double life, but we were going down that road, and I'll tell you, it rattles you to the core, and it's a hard truth to fully embrace and to not take it personally, and to not think, oh my gosh, what's so wrong with me? Like, why can't I just be enough? But then to realize, it's another person's bad behavior like that. It's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. And really, and that takes time to truly have that settle in. But once you are able to see this is a reflection of them and their pathology, I didn't start it, I can't control it, and I'm not going to be the one to stop it. It existed before me, it'll exist after me, it has nothing to do with me. That can make it a little bit easier to walk away and to let go of the um trying to fix a relationship that's not even there. So I am so sorry. Like I said, my heart just goes out to you. So many of us have been there, and who, yeah. Manju says, you've been going to programs, Dana, a lot of program words that you use. I do not know what you are talking about. I have not been going to any, what programs, I guess, are you, like classes? Now I'm curious. Oh, okay. Manju says, oh, Al-Anon, Coda, SLAA have helped. Oh, I see. 12-step program type words. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because um there's a lot of jargon in any field, right? And in kind of mental health field, it's known as like psychobabble. And I really, it's so difficult to to try to just describe a concept and to stay mindful of not using jargon or psychobabble, because it it just adds more confusion to the mix, and that's definitely not what I'm trying to do. So I guess this goes for anybody in the chat. If you ever hear me say words that you're like, "Ah, what are you talking about?" Let me know, and then I'll see if I can uh, phrase it in a different way. Oh, I came across, let me see if I can figure out my phone. I don't know. I have the hardest time with my um, phone app with pictures. And of course, ah, ah, Android just had an update. So I don't even know if I know how to use my phone anymore. Come on. I took a picture of this really crazy quote that I came across. Oh, shoot. Oh, Dana. How do I get to my pictures on this? This is frustrating. Oh, that's not it. What is Google Lens? That sounds that sounds intense. I'm just looking for pictures. Oh, okay. I'll have to, oh, arg. I'll have to mess with it. There's, um, oh, it was some sort of quote where somebody had said that they'd heard one time that karma had once said, if you hurt somebody so deeply and they still look at you with love and enthusiasm, then that's how you know when they truly love you. And the person then followed that up with, if basically they were feeling so blown apart and they're like, well, if this isn't true love, then I don't know what is with their relationship. And I had messaged in response to them, I'd said, um, this isn't love. Like, this is a trauma bond. Love doesn't blow your world apart like this. Love doesn't destroy you. It's the lack of love that destroys you. What that's talking about, where somebody who so profoundly hurts you and, um, and then you run up to them with absolutely delighted to see them, that's like unresolved abandonment issues. That's not love. So I'll have to see if I can figure out my phone and then I'll let you guys know. Uh, okay, let's see. SP Junkie says, galleries on your phone? You would think I don't see any galleries. I just see the camera thing, the button, and there's no, I don't know. I've turned into my mother. Let's just all face it. It's frustrating. Technology. Uh, okay, let's see. Yeah, Jack, since you brought it up, I'm curious to know, how are you guys doing with that? I had encouraged you to kind of take a challenge of accepting compliments and just being loving towards, kind of loving and accepting. How did that go? Gareth is talking about the 12-step program. Steffi says, addiction is a subconscious problem. 12 steps, I'm really not a fan. Yeah, I have some mixed thoughts on 12-step groups. They work for, I love the fact, well, hang on. I love the fact that they're free. That makes my heart smile. I think that that's absolutely wonderful that there's not only free, but easily accessible. They have online meetings, they're worldwide, and they're structured. So I think there's a lot of value in that. So you don't, and maybe you do, but I haven't come across any groups that are completely way off center. Like, they all tend to run about the same way, which I think is important and very helpful. Um, but yeah, I think there are deeper issues to addiction. That need to be addressed, that are just outside of kind of stopping the behavior and making amends and doing that. Yeah, and plus there's kind of this undercurrent with the 12-step program. It's that just doesn't sit right with me. It kind of comes across as like this moral failing, and I just don't think that people that are struggling with addictions need to hear more of that or need more shame added to the mix. But again, the 12 steps, it's been around for a really, really long time, and it is what it is, and it works for a lot of people. And I think it's like anything else. You got to hold on to what works and let the rest go. I wish there were more community-based, free programs out there as alternatives. Okay, let's see. Gareth says, Dana, your teeth look very white today. I don't know what to say to that. Thanks. I guess. I don't know. I didn't do anything different. Maybe it's a Zoom filter. I don't know. They did an update. Let's see here. Let me scroll up. Oh, Fatima, I need to email you. I am so sorry. I have just been absolutely swamped with everything. You and your sister both have just been on my mind like you wouldn't believe. And I was kind of waiting for you to reach out to me this last time. I just didn't want to kind of step in and potentially complicate things. I I will email you tomorrow and we'll catch up, okay? I'm I'm really curious to know how you're both doing. I can't begin to even tell you how just concerned, just how much both of you have been. I think not just me, but I think with everybody that has been kind of following what's been going on with the two of you. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of care and concern there. How is your sister? I guess whatever you might be comfortable sharing on the chat for other people that have been kind of following along. How is your sister doing? Is she safe? And how are you doing? Kenneth? Okay. Well, okay. There's all these comments and stuff in the chat. Hubble Mom says, okay, in answer to your question, Dana, we're doing somewhat better. He doesn't argue as much. That's interesting. Why do you think that is? Do you think he's accepting love, or do you think he's just smiling and nodding? Like, how far is what you're saying kind of getting through? Let's see. Kenneth asks, are there programs for borderline personality disorder? I was diagnosed. The main treatment for borderline personality disorder is a therapy called dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT. And if you have, it's also a structured program. So um, you would want to look for a certified or, certified practitioner. And if you have insurance, they generally cover it. So that would be kind of where to start with that. You can also, if you've got some time, look up borderline, or not look up DBT on YouTube. There's books about it. Um, DBT is kind of it's a, I guess, emotional regulation slash mindfulness approach. And there's again, you have to kind of hold on to what helps, let the rest go, kind of a thing. There's a lot to it that I think is absolutely wonderful. But if a person is really struggling with the challenge can be struggling with owning your reality after abuse, because a lot of it is just kind of examining the meaning that we're assigning to certain things, and it can kind of create this unintentional gaslighting, um, and cause a lot of doubt in people that have been through emotional and psychological abuse. So um, that's kind of something to watch out for. So I guess if you're calling around looking for practitioners, I would really try to find somebody that was familiar, like deeply familiar with emotional and psychological abuse. And this goes for anybody, whenever you're seeing a therapist or a life coach or whoever it might be. If at any point in the process there's something that you're not certain about, or that you have questions, or that you want to discuss, let them know. Let them know. So I, I think kind of the default is, so many people, myself included, when I was in therapy, years and years ago was that they were the expert in the room. And kind of who was I to question anything or to say anything? And that that really shut down, I think, my own progress. And yeah, and the kind of the relationship in general. Although it wasn't intentional, I just thought, well, who am I? Like, who is the student to teach the teacher, kind of a thing. But they're not you. And so it's a relationship that's cultivated, and a relationship needs that open, honest, sincere, solutions oriented communication. um, so it's important to kind of speak up and to examine things, especially if you feel like, ooh, this is really kind of taking you off track. Okay, let's see here. um, okay. Canada saying a lot of therapists in College Station don't take insurance. You know, you might want to try looking online, especially in this day and age. A lot of therapists who are, well, I think most therapists now have moved to offering online services, and that's kind of great because it opens the door to other, potentially other practitioners in other areas that might take your insurance or that practice DBT that you might not would have would have never connected with any other way. Let's see. Yes. And Gigi was saying dialectical behavioral therapy was created to treat BPD. Yes. And I think somebody had mentioned that in the chat. Yeah. The therapist who created it, Marcia Linhan, created it as a process of dealing with her own borderline personality disorder. Okay. Yeah, Fatima, there's a lot going on there. I will email you about this tomorrow and we can see how to move forward. I am so sorry that I'm so frustrated as well with CPS. So I spoke with them at length, and it it's frustrating. But let's touch base tomorrow and we can see. We'll at least just kind of catch up with things, okay? Let's see here. Let me scroll, scroll, scroll. Yeah. Namaste says the 12-step NA meetings kind of pay more attention on the addiction and not the deep factor that caused it to appear. I don't know. I mean, it's still something, those meetings. I agree. I agree with you 100%. It doesn't do a deep dive. Same with AA. well, same with any of the anonymous 12-step programs. There is no real deep dive that happens, but I think the sense of community and the support and the validation and the benefit of hearing other people's experiences, it's I think with anything, when you have kind of a shared challenge that any group of people are going through, um, when everybody starts sharing their story, you realize, oh my gosh, we're all sharing just different versions of the same story. And that in itself can be very comforting to truly know, like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. And it can help to lift a lot of the shame and embarrassment from thinking, oh my gosh, it's just me. Uh, so but I do wish there was kind of a deeper dive on stuff, but they've been doing it. They've been doing it for a long time, and I would be curious to know uh, just kind of the process, the refining process over the years to where they've gotten to where they are today. Because I'm sure it had to have been, right? Like it had to have been a ton of trial and error. Okay, let's see. Right. And Manju was saying, yeah, they said that they're not therapy, it's more for support. Right. And and I think that is a good thing too, because if it is therapy, then it is more individualized, and that's a hard thing to actually scale. How do you kind of scale that in like a to a way that's worldwide and have it be a free program run by volunteers and not have it go way south? Because there've been other programs that are similar to like treatment programs or even self-help programs that I think started off with the best of intentions, but and then you get some money hungry people at the helm, or some deeply dysfunctional people, um, or some people with untreated mental illness, or a combination of all of the above running the ship. And it very quickly turns into this kind of cult like practice, and people end up becoming very damaged, and it just goes south fast. Let's see. James, hi, said you might need to keep an eye on somebody and you may need to ban her. At a minimum, I think I hid what she was saying from the group. I didn't even see what she was saying. I just saw the screen name, and that was kind of enough. Um, yes. And Manju, you're so spot on with that. She says, I'm starting to find hobbies and break my love addiction, my trauma bond to my exes, and just work on myself deeply. I have found a lot of self love for myself, learning what healthy people look like. And that is so spot on. Um, and that's a good point to kind of discuss. It, because I'm with you 100%. I think it's helpful because when each of us are our own baseline for normal. And I can't stress that enough. The the problem with that is if something that's problematic is normal, it takes a lot of pain, you know, in order for us to realize, hey, this is actually a problem, because it's the way we've been doing things for so long, or it's the way we were raised, or what have you. And that's a painful, long, hard road to have, the difficult way to have to learn the lessons of life. And it doesn't have to be that way. And it is so much more helpful if when these lessons are approached in the sense of, kind of here's what this concept is, and here's what it isn't. Or here's what it is when it's in balance, and here's some examples of it being out of balance. Um, and I forget which book it was. We read some book a while back. Oh, I think it was a Pete Walker book. It might have been the CPTSD book, From Surviving to Thriving. I think it was. Yes, it was. Where he talks about the different types of behavior. So like when this is in balance, so like for example, when a person has the ability to be self-protective, when it's in balance, they're able to have boundaries, they're able to be assertive. When it's out of balance, they are either passive or they're aggressive. So when they're being passive, um, they're not able to be self-protective. Um, there's a lot of like other ways of navigating the environment. There's people pleasing behavior. There's a lot of ingratiating behavior. It's a lot of denial, a lot of like malignant optimism. Um, if it's aggressive behavior, then it's that domination driven mindset. There can only be one. Everything is a fight. There is no like negotiation or working as a team. It's I'm right, you're wrong kind of a thing. And um and it's just all about power and control on that side of the spectrum. The passive side too is not so much about gaining and keeping power and control. It's about um trying to, I think, more of keeping their what keeping crumbs of themselves alive. So passive aggressive behavior can seem really controlling, but it's again, it's that imbalance tends to be there. All of these ways, it's maladaptive ways we've all learned how to handle situations. And so it's a problem. So it's interesting to kind of go through and look at the different ways of coping that we have, and like what it looks like when it's in balance and what it looks like when it's out of balance one way or the other. Okay, let me scroll down. Oh, Kenneth is saying, I can barely hear you and my volume is all the way up. Okay, I just turned up. Let me turn some other things up and see if that helps. Does that help? He says, maybe, I don't know. Okay. Well, we'll see. Hopefully that'll help. I have to turn my microphone down when I do the live streams with Angie, and I always forget to turn it back up again because Angie, my energy is just higher with her, and I just laugh and laugh and laugh, and I get too loud. So, ah, okay, let's see. Let me scroll up here. Okay, Metamorphosis says I have to go. Thank you, Dana. Well, have a wonderful evening. Oh, James has to go as well. He says, I just meant I'm leaving, but you got this. Have a good evening, you guys. And it was good seeing you. James, we need to catch up too. It's been a long time. The next the next 5 weeks are going to be real crunch time for me. So we'll see. Let's see. Oh, I got some Star Trek fans out there. James is telling Jack, he's like, okay, you can take the helm. Jack says, I got the reference. Aye, aye, Captain. Okay, good. Huffle Mom was talking about Jack, and she says, yes, he says he is finding it easier to be grateful when I say I love him. Okay, I like that. Good. Jack, how is that feeling for you? Are those, or is what Huffle Mom is saying, that validation and that appreciation, is it kind of getting through that armor that you have? Let's see. Jack is talking about the 12-step programs and talking about UNA. He was saying, it's really kind of what works for you. Yeah, I think with all of this, there's so many different ways to go about healing and about sobriety and about just all kinds of things. And it's important that we kind of keep our eye on the goal. Uh, there's so many other facets of life that pull us away from our goal. I guess that's what makes me so sad when I see kind of like, I don't know if infighting is the right word, but internal disagreements about healing or about sobriety or how to go about this or how to go about that. It's like, boy, you know, um, that more support of each person in their process would be great, because we all go about things differently, and we're all headed towards, you know, the light kind of a thing. And but we might have different paths. We all have different paths. Uh, let's see. Let me scroll. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, Darlene was talking to Fatima and says it's very common for narcissists to deny the feelings of others. She says, I wrote a poem about it once. So here's her poem. Emotionally androgynous zombie, not allowed to hurt, not allowed to feel, not allowed to cry. But she does hurt. She does feel. She does cry. She's just not allowed. I like that. And that's so true. It's so true. And there's so many people out there that I get, you've probably heard me talk about this before. This is, I think, what's so exciting about where we are in time. I feel like we're at just kind of this next wave of the evolution of mental health, where it, emotions are being understood in a different way, and the importance of understanding and being in tune with emotions is given more validity. And there's so much more research that's coming out about um, how the body, there's like how the body stores trauma, and um, just the whole mind body connection. It's just so spot on. And it's it's neat. It's neat to kind of, and it's neat to see people reconnecting with their emotions, and then just having that impact their life in a positive way across the board. Like realizing, oh, um, maybe they've had chronic back pain for years, and they think, oh, I just have a bad back. Oh, I tweaked my back 20 years ago. I just have a bad back. And they don't connect it to stress in their life, because they've learned to, I think we all do this to some degree, have turned down the volume on these uncomfortable emotions and then uncomfortable physical sensations. And then they start to turn the volume back up, and then they realize, oh my gosh, no, this is what it is. It's my boss. My shoulders go up to my ears every time, my boss walks in the room. And then realizing, actually, I don't think I like my job, and I don't think I've liked it for a long time. And uh, being honest with ourselves, and then kind of figuring out, okay, well, what can I change with this? And what are some things that I can do? And then, things just start to get more in alignment. It's amazing. It's amazing how disconnected so many of us are, from our thoughts and feelings and wants and needs, uh, and our physical body in general. It's amazing that that even ever happens. But it's powerful and it's exciting as to kind of how quickly that can come, that connection can be reconnected. Okay, let me scroll down. Yeah, Manju was saying mind body connections are super important. Fatima, let's see. Mm, says, I don't want to sound selfish, but ever since I started helping my sister overcome her mental illness, I've been feeling drained and empty. Why? And she says, whenever I sit down with her and try to help her with her negative emotions, I just feel so exhausted. No matter what I say, just nothing works. This, so what you're describing is something that I would say the vast majority of people that work with um, kind of in that kind of caregiving, mental health type field experience. Social workers, I mean, my goodness, therapists, psychiatrists, uh, psychiatric nurses, eh, anybody that's around, um, other people's pain. There's a learning curve with having boundaries with that. And it that learning curve takes time and it takes practice. And it's a struggle and it takes a while. So a couple things that I can recommend is um, I guess realizing that you can't fix her, um, and that you don't need to. Most people, and you think about it within your own life, when you have problems, somebody hopping in and continuing to give unwanted advice or trying to steer you in a direction you don't want to go, very rarely it's not helpful. And it can be very difficult, very, very, very difficult to sit back and hold space for another person and just let them talk and let them feel how they feel. It's very difficult to do that. But more often than not, that's what's helpful. So if your sister, and that can take a lot of the pressure off of you, because I know and therapists feel this way too. It's this feeling of, oh, but I want to help. And so I need to be more active in my helping. I need to figure out the right things to say, and I need to make their problem my own. But it doesn't work that way. And then it also cheats the other person out of figuring things out for themselves. I think best case scenario, it cheats them out of figuring it out themselves so they can actually kind of build their self-esteem in the process of realizing, hey, they are capable and competent. But worst case scenario, it can be damaging because um, then they might start turning towards you for all of the answers, or just second guess themselves. Or if they take advice, they're asking for advice and they take it without putting it into the context of their own life, then they might hold you accountable for it. Like, oh, great, I listened to you and now my life's even worse, kind of a thing. So um, it can help. It can help to just to listen. And so if your sister's coming to you and she's saying, this is how she's really having a hard time today, um, you know, whatever she might be saying, asking her questions about that, and validating her. Wow, that must be really difficult. Like that sounds really hard, you know? How do you handle that, or how did you handle that, or what do you think might help? And coming from a place of curiosity, um, so and this might seem hypocritical of me, right? Because I have this live stream support channel. I want you to know I try to not be like this in my day-to-day life. So I really try hard to not give unwanted advice to people and uh, to let them, and I do slip into it, you know, but I really try to listen more than hop in and try to make everything okay. Um, this format here online is we're kind of working within the confines of the format. So it's this is just kind of more of a advice type show, but um, that's that's not how I would normally go about something in person. So listening to her, validating her, letting her know that you're there to talk or that you're just there to listen. Seriously, just listening to another person in a place of complete non-judgment and in full acceptance and just giving your time and loving them no matter what they say, that's huge. Anybody can give advice, but being there for that other person and letting them know that and creating that sense of safety and stability in their environment for them of like, this is a safe place. Like, you know, it is huge. It's huge. So, but if your sister's to the point where she's saying things that are, that she's, that you're really concerned about her safety, that she's going to harm herself or that she's going to harm others, then it's time to step in and uh, kind of reach out and get help. Get other people need to know. Um, Her therapist needs to know. Um, potentially 911 might need to know. Um, those kinds of things. But if she's just kind of talking about it just depends. It's on a spectrum. So if she's just kind of talking about hard times during the day or difficult emotions, uh, just letting her explore those and to feel them, that's a beautiful thing. And also, too, let's see here. Um, Working on your self care is huge, 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 huge during this time. I know she's your sister. I know you love her. I know that you want her to be okay, but this is a lot for for you to try to take on. And it's it's that's just a heavy load to bear for anybody. So let alone, given your age, given her age, given your home life situation, that's just a lot. Yeah, I agree. UNA says the hard thing to remember is her age. She hasn't even had time in a healthy family relationship. And to be truthful, you're still young and all of this shouldn't be on your shoulder. It's hard. Yeah, absolutely. It really shouldn't be. You're barely an adult and um, she's your younger sister and it's yeah, it's heavy stuff that um it's ideally there would be that dynamic with your parents where they could help support her or there would be a therapist that would be supporting her um and it just and I'm just so sorry that it's all fallen onto you, but it's okay to have boundaries with that and to let her know And to say and to tell her too what you were telling us. You know what? I love you so much. And like you said, I feel guilty afterwards for giving you advice. I don't, I want to help you so much, but I don't know how to be there for you. And you can kind of put it back in her court. So you could also say, it would really help me if um, you're coming to me, letting me know, like, are you wanting advice, or do you want me just to listen? Just putting that out there for her. Like, I'm really not sure what to say, or is this awkward if we, um, if I offer this opinion on this, or if I, um, or I'm concerned about you, or what have you. Fatima's saying, yeah, like if I say, hey, I'm drained. Oh, whenever I set healthy boundaries with her, she gets offended. Like if I say, hey, I'm drained, I need some alone time, she will think I'm trying to get rid of her and starts getting defensive. Okay, so what could help is to start that off um, by saying something like, I love you so much. And I think I just need to decompress. like I just need to decompress. At I love you so much. Can we hang out in like an hour or tomorrow? And letting her know, like, I need time to be alone and to like recharge. So, and it's common. It's, when healthy boundaries and assertive behavior, when that stuff hasn't been role modeled, and I think it's really role modeled for very few of us, when it hasn't been role modeled, it's not the normal. And when families are used to going about things either passively, passive aggressively, or aggressively, being assertive comes across as shocking. And it comes across, people get defensive because they interpret it as more of aggressive behavior because we're telling them no. So in their mind, they get defensive. Well, and that's part of just kind of breaking and interrupting this pattern and breaking this cycle of dysfunctional interactions with others. But so at first it really helps until they realize, oh no, I still love you completely. And um, me saying no isn't a rejection. And it's not coming from, a place of me trying to punish you or making you feel less than. I just need to recharge because I want to be there for you. But I'm just tired right now. It it takes quite a few times, like at least a dozen times probably, of having these conversations with another person. Over time, hopefully, the relationship will be able to make that jump to where both people are able to relax into that assertiveness and find great comfort in it. Of, oh my goodness, I can breathe in here because I know where I stand with you. I know that if something's too much, that you're going to tell me that you need a break, or that I can trust you to handle um, when I open my vulnerabilities, when I make myself vulnerable to you and tell you my hopes and dreams and thoughts and feelings, and we have conflict or confrontation, that you're still going to handle this appropriately, you know, that you're not going to kind of blow sunshine at me, which is what being passive is, or blow sunshine at me and then, I don't know, go cause destruction somewhere in my life, which is what passive aggressive is, or just fly into a rage and not handle it well and then become very defensive back, which is what aggressive is. But it takes a little while to make that shift. But once you get to that place where your relationships with other people are you're able to have those boundaries, you're able to set them tactfully, and it takes kind of and this is, I wish there was a better way to phrase this, but it really kind of takes teaching other people um, this new way of being, because it's learning a new dance. That's really what it is. It's learning a new dance and realizing that you kind of have to catch them up to speed, because all they're not used to that. They're used to you stuffing your feelings and being passive and going along with it, right? So, um, but like I said, over time, when that assertiveness kicks in and we get used to that, and we're with people that are able to set boundaries and set their limits in a way that's respectful and loving, it's seriously just like you can breathe. And then you really struggle to be in environments where there is a bunch of people pleasing going on, because it's all insincere behavior. And then that causes anxiety. So it's a shift in being, and it takes time and practice and other people that are willing. That's a great way to say that, Gareth. He says, yeah, I would say something to her like, I am here. I love you. Let me think on this and I'll get back to you. Yes. When other people are learning how to be on the receiving end, I guess, of us setting boundaries, it it helps to phrase things as gentle as possible. Um, the way Gareth said it, I think, is absolutely wonderful. So there is that reassurance, because again, what we're saying and how they're interpreting it are two different things. Most of the time, they're not familiar with assertive behavior, so they are interpreting it as rejection, and then they do get defensive and hurt. And so it can help to think of maybe other people when we're first practicing this new way of being with them, of realizing that emotionally they don't have those skills built up. So emotionally, they're kind of regressing back to a child, back to a 5 or 6 year old. So thinking about how you might phrase, and it doesn't matter how old they could be 88 years old, but if they're not used to assertive behavior, it's going to be that same hurt and rejection as a small child. Of, well, why don't you like me? Or I can't believe you said no. And I don't understand. Like I've done so much for you. And don't you owe me? Isn't this how this works? So allowing them kind of space to grow in, to learn, allowing them the space and the time and the practice to learn this new dance. So it's going to be kind of being patient on your end too, but talking to them like you would if you're setting boundaries with a small child. So saying it in a loving way, realizing that even any form of no can cause a lot of rejection and hurt. So trying to take the sting out, I guess, as much as possible. Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. Fatima is saying, yeah, Alicia is saying, yes, CPS won't even disclose the person who reported them. Um, and yeah, And Alicia says, yeah, from what I've heard yesterday and today, that CPS social worker sounds incompetent and unprofessional to say the least. And I'm not sure if you're talking about the one that we're dealing with Fatima, but yes, absolutely. And I've called them and I've spent hours dealing with them, and it's beyond frustrating. It's, yeah, incompetent and unprofessional. Absolutely. Uh, let's see here. Fatima says with her sister, oh, okay, kind of giving her advice, and then she would contradict me on my advice later on and be like, well, this is how you taught me. So, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. So, like teaching, there's so many different skills here. And then again, it's hard because she's young and you're not her parent and you're not her therapist, and this is not your job or your responsibility to be doing this, to even try to be doing this. So I feel my heart goes out to you that you're even in this situation. um so when she gets defensive and she kind of sasses back like that and says, oh, well, this is how you taught me, the natural reaction I think most of us would have would be to get defensive with that, right? And want to kind of fire back. And um, trying to not do that. So instead saying, well, that was not what I intended to to teach you, or to you know that was not my intention. Like, how do you, like, tell me how you thought, tell me what you heard when I said that, or um or if I did teach it to you that way, then that's my mistake, that was inadvertent, and let's talk about a different way, like XYZ kind of a thing. Well, Fatima, let's touch base tomorrow, me and you, and we'll we'll see what we can do. So, and my goal with this um is to help your sister get and stay safe, and to help you get and stay safe as well. So I don't mind helping out with this at all. And it's important. So it's okay. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. So like I said, we'll touch base tomorrow and go from there. Okay. Manju, we are just so on the same page, girl. She says, can you make some more meditations on your channel? Yes. Yes, I can. That has been on the list of things to do for quite a while. And um uh hopefully that has just, yeah, it's been the plan for a while. And I really need to start back up on that because I really do enjoy it. I have a bunch of them written. Um and let's see. I'm sorry, I get caught up in the chat. It's like, oh, squirrel. Uh, Sorry. Yes, so I have a ton of them written. The I guess I don't know if I've how much I've told you guys about, probably actually very little about what kind of is going on in my own personal life, but um um I ended things. I'm just gonna switch gears a little bit and this will make some more sense to you. I ended things with Travis a little over, I guess it's been about a year. It's been about a year. And I have started, um, I started seeing somebody. His name is Paul. And, anyways, long story short, so um, Paul, uh, I don't know, that just all kind of happened. But he is a musician and has been wanting to make meditation videos with me for a long, long time. So now we've been talking about doing this forever, and now we're hopefully moving forward with it sooner than later. That is an interesting question. UNA says, Dana, do the guided meditations relax you as you are guiding them? When I'm doing them live, yes, they do. When I'm doing them as a recording, it takes a little while for me to kind of find my groove, because I have other things that are on my mind, kind of thinking about like the technicalities of recording it. If I can settle in to a groove, then yes, it is very relaxing. Um, I just recently started working with a gal who uh, is really big into like mind body therapy, and she also does guided meditations. And um, she was walking me through one this morning, and it's yeah, they're wonderful. They're wonderful, and they do help with trauma. They help with getting reconnecting, with our body and becoming our own like safe space, just getting grounded within ourselves. And yeah. Kenneth asked, Dana, have you ever considered doing an ASMR? I've thought about that, but I don't know what I would do. There's such a wide range. I've thought about I could do an ASMR of me as I'm typing. I'll have to go get my old keyboard, my old clickety clack keyboard, where I'm writing a book because I write every day. And I find that sound soothing, but I don't know if other people do. So there's that sound. I'm open to ideas. I am open to ideas. A real quick back with Fatima and your sister. Another strategy that can help is because the whole goal with, I guess, um, personal growth, it's so tied into self-empowerment. And and it's that level of that um, empowering that other person to make to learn to get in tune enough with themselves so they realize what is nourishing for them and what is draining for them, and kind of to get in alignment with their own internal compass, I guess, so to speak. So when you notice that she's doing things that she's making good decisions that are or yeah, like good decisions or difficult decisions, and that she's having these little small victories, to point those out to her. because it helps to reinforce to another person, especially if another person who's struggling with low self-esteem, because they're not seeing any of this. Um, they're so used to getting validation from outside of themselves, which is next to impossible if you're in an abusive environment. So bringing their awareness of, oh my gosh, in talking in terms of specifics. Um, oh, I'm trying to think of, oh, you got an A on that test, or this poem that you wrote was really fantastic. Like that was really profound and moving. Or um, wow, you're doing X, Y, and Z, and you that must be really difficult. Like you're so brave. Things like that, kind of pointing out their strengths so they can start to realize, hey, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Like that did take a lot of courage. Or yeah, you know what? I did do a pretty good job with that. Or they just kind of feel, it kind of just puts it, gives that person confidence. Competence and confidence go hand in hand. And so a more, a person starts realizing, oh my gosh, I am capable. That's when their self-esteem in large part starts to rise, because then they realize, I can do this. I can navigate my way through life. I can handle it. And that is such a gift to be able to give to other people. And it's fun. It's fun too. It's fun to kind of catch other people doing stuff, that's to kind of catch their victories, because we all have this, we're so close to ourselves, that and so many of us, we can just be so hard on ourselves. So we might have a small victory, but we're so focused on the other 10 things that didn't go as planned. So taking some time to celebrate that and point that out it's really nice. And that can help too. So, and the reality is, you and your sister are incredibly brave. Like everything that you guys have gone through and continue to go through, is huge. It takes a ton of courage, and uh, yeah, you guys are awesome. Let's see. Let me scroll down here. Oh, I'm so glad. And she says, okay, Dana, yeah, that's what I've always needed. You and everyone in the chat have taken so much pressure off my chest. You guys are awesome. Yeah. Well, we are here for you. And, you know, yeah, you're pretty awesome. It's a lot to carry with all of this, and you're doing a great job. You really are. I know this has been difficult in ways for you that we can't even fathom. And um, it's not right, and it's not fair that you and your sister are in this position. And I hope that through all of this, the two of you can grow closer together, and that you can um, become stronger and just great, compassionate people when you come out on the other side of this. Let me scroll here. Gareth is talking about addiction. He says, yeah, opiates were my best friend and my worst enemy. Yeah, that's the problem with addiction, you know? There was a Simpsons episode that, I mean, obviously years and years and years ago, where Homer's talking about beer, and I think it was beer. Pretty sure it was beer. He says beer is the cause of and the solution to all of life's problems. And I thought that's it. Like, that's the problem with addiction. That's the cycle. It's the cause of and the solution to problems. And that's why it's so hard to break free, you know? Let's see. Let me scroll up here. Hey, Jack is saying, or food addiction. He says, I'm recovering from food addiction. Yeah. I think, my heart really goes out. I mean, to anybody suffering with any type of pain, my heart goes out. But food addiction in particular, I can't imagine. I mean, I've had my own challenges with my weight and such, but and that's been difficult, even to the on the more mild end of the spectrum. I can't even begin to. It overwhelms me just thinking about how difficult that would be when there's food addiction issues where a person, was hundreds of pounds overweight. Um, Somebody once said something like, or maybe it was Pete Walker. I don't know. There's a lot of good things that come out of Pete Walker. It might have been Pete Walker. Something about food addiction, I think. Uh, Addiction, trying to control addiction is like trying to keep a tiger in a cage. But with food addiction, you have to take that tiger out and walk it 3 times a day. And thought, wow, yeah, I can't even imagine just the highs and lows of that. Darlene, oh, that's interesting. She says, I'm addicted to helping. I'm not joking or being sarcastic. I even felt withdrawal through quarantine because I had no one to help. Interesting. Did do you feel that is that compulsion to helping other people? Or I guess what do you think is at the root of that? Is it um helping others is kind of a positive, productive way to keep your attention off of dealing with your own issues? Or what do you think? UNA says that she's just the opposite. She's been battling anorexia for over 40 years, recovery, relapse cycles, currently in relapse. I saw an interesting video a while back on anorexia, and this, gosh, I wish I could. I'll have to dig. I don't even know if I could find it again. I think I just kind of stumbled across it. They were doing research on treatment for anorexia, and um, it was something to do with the kind of like the connection between physiology and psychology. And because it can be, there's, well, obviously, there's um, this absolute, like, not a revulsion, but uh, pressure to not eat. And so what they were doing was focusing on just rebuilding the habit of the motions of eating. So eat without food, and or with very, very, very low calorie food. So it was sort of like, okay, getting the brain past that fear of putting a fork up to your mouth or putting, um, you know, drinking something. And then they would slowly add calories to it. And so it was like the brain, I thought that was absolutely brilliant, because I could see how a person, the fight or flight takes over and it just locks. It kind of, you get stuck in that freeze mode where I can't do this. I want to do this. I can't do this. I can't do, like, the anorexia won't let me do this. And so having like a bowl of water and eating that water with a spoon as if it's soup, uh, and getting in the habit of retraining your brain that this is safe, that it's okay to eat, to just do the motion of bringing the spoon up to your mouth and putting liquid in your mouth, and just the basic process. I thought that was fascinating. Um, let's see. Mm. Namaste was saying to Darlene about the obsessive helping. She says it kind of sounds like codependency. Yeah, there could be elements of that, and that tends to go, that part of codependency where we're so out of tune with our own wants and needs, and we're hyper in tune with the wants and needs of other people, that it's very difficult for us to um, to kind of live our own life. Sort of like, well, I don't know what I want and I don't know what I need. And so we're kind of getting our wants and needs met vicariously through other people. So we don't know how to make ourselves happy, but we know how to make somebody else happy. We don't know how to soothe ourselves, or to comfort ourselves, but we know how to soothe or comfort somebody else. So it's, and Jack was saying, a lot of people have trouble with the term codependency. It feels very marginalizing and I think invalidating for a lot of people. Again, I would hold on to what helps, let the rest go. I think it helps to look at this in terms of a degree of self-orientation. And so just take away that label if that label's not sitting right with you. There's that, are we, where is our level of orientation? Is it self-orientation? Is it to, when it's imbalance? Okay, well, let me back up. When it's to an extreme, we're very selfish, very self-oriented. It's all about me all the time. When it's out of balance the other direction, we're very others oriented. And in the middle is ideal. That's when our life starts working. So when it's to that extreme where it's selfish, that then you have this, like, a pathological degree of narcissism. It's problematic. That's a person, they're only in tune with their wants and needs and thoughts and feelings, and it's all about them all of the time, to the expense of other people. To the opposite end, where it's very others oriented, it's the same thing, except it's all about other people all of the time. And uh, and that's pathological in its own right. And so when we're making our lives all about other people all of the time, we're so focused on helping them get their wants and needs met, we're, especially if it's to the point where we get tangled up with a dangerous or destructive person, then we're sticking around, we're destroying ourselves I probably heard this saying, we're setting ourselves on fire to keep somebody else warm, kind of a thing. So we don't know when there's that imbalance to that level, to that direction. Um, they really struggle with, there is no authenticity present. It's all about people pleasing. It's all about walking on eggshells. It's all about catering to other people. And it's kind of the maybe more subconscious thought of, well, if I were to actually speak up and say, hey, this isn't okay with me, if I assert myself, they're going to leave. And I've suffered enough loss already. I don't want to suffer anymore. So I guess I'm just going to have to keep quiet and stuff all my feelings if I want these friendships or relationships to continue. And that's a problem. So when that level of self-orientation is in balance, we're able to have that open, honest, sincere, solutions-oriented communication. We are able to be self-protective uh, with boundaries, standards, and deal breakers. And we're able to make kind of ourselves, not kind of, we're able to make ourselves our own safe place. So we realize we can't control other people or their behavior. Other people are going to be rude. They're going to be insensitive. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. We don't have control over that. But what we do have control over is how we respond to it and how much of that we actually internalize. So, like we were talking about earlier, it's a game changer when we make the shift to seeing somebody else's behavior as a reflection of them and not as a reflection of us. So somebody could say things that are mean and hurtful. That doesn't mean that we have to absorb that as absolute truth. We can realize this person's really rude and hurtful. You know, like we don't. It's keeping our hurt feelings and our self-worth in two different buckets. So completely normal and understandable to have hurt feelings when somebody says something hurtful. We don't have to let it take it to the point where we feel unlovable. And we do that by seeing this is the reflection of them. You know, there's, and this is where it comes back to validating ourselves and realizing, hey, you know what? There's a lot that's right about you. Oh, well, thank you, Salon, for the live stream donation. Says, thank you, Dana, for all that you do for us. You are a beacon of light. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad I'm able to help. So, yeah. So realizing, so this is how we're able to stay self-protective. We have boundaries on um, you know, kind of it what we're putting out into the world. We're moderating our behavior. So we're putting out appropriate behavior across the board and we're moderating what we take in. So realizing we don't have to take everything in. We don't have to accept unwanted physical or sexual or verbal um, or emotional or psychological or any of this uh, demands or inappropriate behavior. But again, we don't have control over what other people do. Your coworker or your boss might put his or her hand on your knee. That's, you don't have control over that, but you do have control over how you respond to that. And of course, that's easier said than done. I get that. I completely get that, especially when there is kind of that power difference there, or you're in a position where speaking up means rocking the boat. And it's, and it can be difficult. It's a process. And we all struggle no matter how long we've been doing this or, uh, you know, no matter what, there's still times where it's a challenge and none of us do this perfectly. It's just part of it, you know? So yeah, so I hope that helps. Oh, thanks, man. 509 Cougs for the live stream donation says, keep it going. So Dana does. Oh, yeah. Will, I do these live streams because I like to do them. So, and I'm glad that they help. And I would really like to be able to get um, down the road, like some other people on, because this is something, these live streams, I really would like to be able to do this on a weekly basis until like the day I die. I think they're important and, but it would be nice to have some variety with people instead of just hearing from me. So, uh, yeah, so we'll see. Okay, let me scroll up here. Oh, well, thank you. Megalodoro says, Dana, you shine like the sun in this dark world. Oh, that is really sweet. Well, thank you so much. Did you, I know you're fairly new to the channel, but um, did you know that I had to practice smiling? There was a point in my life where I didn't smile. And I felt so just lost and overwhelmed and depression. And um, it was just a really dark place I was in for a long time. And I realized that I wasn't smiling. I was really kind of getting consumed by a lot of like bitterness and anger. And it was kind of a series of events that led me to realizing that I needed to make the decision to just not let this ruin my life. And one of the ways that I started kind of climbing up out of that hole was I would go in the bathroom mirror and I would practice smiling again until it became comfortable again. And um and I think the importance of what I'm saying in that is one of the biggest shifts in my healing was realizing that there has to be this level of intentionality with it. We can't just wait and hope that someday down the road we'll feel better or that we'll um, find joy or that will, uh, that, yeah, that we'll feel better down the road. We have to make that decision to, to, to take control over that and to start bringing it into our life now. Because that's how you get rid of that darkness. It's by turning on little tiny lights inside your life. And next thing you know, there's a lot more light than darkness. But don't wait for it to just somehow, uh, don't wait for that darkness to lift on its own because it might not. So it really does help bringing in those making those concerted efforts. Uh, and man, I remember for so long, I, I felt like I was at war with that darkness in my life. And any little positive thing, it it was very empowering. It felt like I was kind of taking a rock and throwing it, kind of keeping that darkness away, keeping it away, cleaning out my car, making a healthy lunch for myself, taking time to do a mud mask, um, giving a compliment to a stranger, smiling at somebody, holding the door open for somebody. These little kind of acts, and it was planned. It was planned acts of kindness. And it was with that intentionality of I'm going, um, I had it on, actually, I had somewhere on here, I have it on like a poster board of, I believe something good will happen to me and through me today. And then I would go make that happen. And that was a big contributing force um, in realizing that I can bring a lot of goodness back into my life and to not wait. Because, well, and there was a time I had gone to this Thanksgiving dinner, and there are these relatives I'd never met before, and they were really angry and bitter and just jaded. And my cousins and we'd never seen them before. All like we had the same realization at the same time of, oh my gosh, they're talking about events that happened like 70 years ago. And we at first thought these were recent events because they were so emotionally charged when they were telling the story. And that resonated with me so much because I thought, oh my gosh, that's how that happens. That's how, you see, when you're a kid, especially, oh, this person is the angry, bitter old man or old lady down the street, you know, um, who's always yelling at kids and yelling at squirrels and just, kind of bah humbug kind of person. They don't start out like that. They didn't start out as an 80-year-old, bitter human being. That bitterness starts after some sort of event that goes unprocessed. And then they grow into that. And that terrified me. That was when I really realized, okay, I need to figure something else out because I don't want to be that person. That's a hard way to live. Okay, let's see here. Gareth asks something about, has anybody ever read the Art of War? Yes, a long time ago. I have. Why do you ask? Let's see. There's another book that's kind of a spin-off of that, which is also really interesting. It's called The War of Art. It's by Stephen Pressfield, and it's about uh, encountering resistance when we're trying, basically when we're trying something new or when we're trying to be creative. Fantastic, fantastic book. Okay, let's see here. Oh, interesting. Darlene says, I think I had a breakthrough a couple of days ago. I have only accidentally seen my ex twice since going no contact. A year ago, when I saw him, I panicked. This time I didn't. I felt weird, but not panicked. Yeah. Isn't it weird how when you just kind of have these realizations of, huh, like I wonder when that changed. Like, when did that happen and why? It is weird. But I'm thrilled for you that you weren't feeling panicked. That's huge. That's huge. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Jennifer's talking about, oh, hi, Jennifer, is talking about stores and such. She says we have to have management watching the doors now because people get so aggressive when they can't get their own way. We've had 2 people shot at other stores in my area, so it's nerve-wracking. Yikes. I know it's really wild, all the stuff that's going on with how politicized COVID is becoming, and masks, wearing masks and all of that. Namaste is talking about NPD, says NPD is the ultimate codependent. The difference is that typical codependency is easier to treat. NPD can be treated only if a person with NPD genuinely wants it. Otherwise, you can't help. And I think that I disagree with that. And I think it's just an issue of semantics. I think we're saying the same thing. It's just slightly different vocabulary. NPD is the ultimate dependent. Um, Codependency, kind of by definition, is this excessive emotional reliance on other people, and it's to the point of it's the loss of self. That's what's so significant with codependency. It's putting aside our wants and needs and becoming excessively reliant on other people to fulfill those wants and needs. It's looking outside of ourselves. Whereas narcissism, yeah, it's on the same, I would say it's on the same like continuum, but theirs is dependence, whereas they know exactly what their wants and needs are, but they have an excessive reliance on other people to get those wants and needs met. So it's kind of two sides of the same continuum. Um, yeah, but I think that's a significant difference because a narcissist will there it's so all about them. There's no room for anybody else. They're like a black hole. They just kind of absorb all of the light around them. It's all about them all the time. And when a person is all about themselves all of the time, there's no room for anybody else. There is no validation of other people because they don't see other people. Other people are only extensions of themselves. It's a very immature way of thinking and feeling. Um, it's like little kids. Like, for example, if you ever or ever played hide and go seek with a little kid, or ever seen a little kid play hide and go seek, they might hide behind the curtain, or they might hide in like a really obvious place, like you can completely see them. But their thinking is, I can't see you, therefore you can't see me. It's there's no separation there. Another example would be with a lot of like neglectful parents. And I don't know how many of you have experienced this, but being on a road trip and the kids, somebody else has to go to the bathroom. And the person driving, if they don't have to go to the bathroom, they don't understand how you would need to go to the bathroom. We just went to the bathroom a couple hours ago. I don't have to go to the bathroom. Therefore, how could you possibly need to go to the bathroom? Or I'm not hungry. How could you possibly be hungry? It's that kind of logical fallacy of like one mind kind of a thing. But that that's not how people work, right? We're all different. And that's the problem with narcissism, is there is no understanding of that. It's, well, my goodness, these are, you know, I really like art, therefore you really should like art. And if you don't like art, I'm just going to keep hammering on you until you do. Oh, you don't think this joke is funny? I think it's hilarious. So you're the one with the problem. I'm just going to keep hammering you about this until you find it funny, or until you cave in, really, because you're probably not going to find it funny until you cave in and admit that I'm right and you're wrong. It's just this inability to see things from other people's perspectives. That's what's so when we were talking about invalidation earlier, in like that in a narcissistic family, when you have a narcissistic, one or more narcissistic self-absorbed parents, that's the result. So their kids tend to be um, either completely vapid as well and self-absorbed, and everybody's just kind of like living their own life. They're just kind of these free floating orbs. There's not any connection. Or the child is feels like a shell of themselves. Like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I need. I don't know how I feel. And they start looking outside of themselves for validation, for love, for approval, for self-esteem, all of that. And um, it then, down the road, they their life tends to get to a point where it doesn't work for them. And then they start, because again, we are our own baseline for normal. And so they don't realize that there's anything wrong, or if they do, they don't realize the degree. We all have blind spots to ourselves. So then it's doing the work of kind of turning that ship around and realizing, okay, well, where are these imbalances? And how do I go about adjusting them? Like Manju was saying earlier, it's so helpful to look at healthy people. Like, oh, this is what healthy behavior is. That's helpful. I needed to know kind of where to set my course, because I have an idea of what dysfunctional is, but I don't really know, like, what is functional. But then when you hear about it, you're like, okay, that makes sense. I've got some sort of roadmap. Like, I have some sort of direction that I can steer into now. So, let's see here. Yeah, Gareth, you're right. It says smiling is a natural antidepressant. Yes, it is. It really does help. There is that definite connection between the psychology and the physiology. That's that mind body awareness. It's really wild. I wish I could be on a fly on the wall and just see where everything goes in the next like couple hundred years with mental health, because we're so just at the beginnings of it, and it's just gonna get so much more exciting to see what all is learned, um and just the discoveries that are made, and how and kind of where humans can, with this kind of a new and empowering insight, where what all people can do. It's cool. I wish I could be around for that. So, uh, oh, Gareth says it's my birthday next live stream. I will bring balloons. Oh, that's wonderful. How old are you going to be? Jennifer's saying it's hard working in a grocery store to realize that you don't have control over other people during this time. Like, we're supposed to enforce rules during this pandemic, but a lot of people don't follow the rules, and the police won't divvy out the fines for people not wearing masks. So I feel kind of guilty that I might not have been able to prevent others from getting sick. Yeah, I, I can only imagine. I have to say, Jennifer's we're both in Michigan here. And Michigan was a really scary place that first couple months of COVID. We were like the third hardest hit state, right behind, it was New York, New Jersey, and then Michigan. And um, our governor was, I think, has done a wonderful job of really advocating and erring on the side of prevention as much as possible. And it's helped to keep our numbers down. So thankfully, we're now down to, I think, like the 16th or 19th hardest hit state. And which, I don't know about you, Jennifer, but it makes me feel a little bit better that our cases are going down, that they're getting handled and stuff. I really am so concerned. I mean, poor New York, my goodness. It I know that they're slowly getting things under control there, but my Florida, Texas, Arizona, California, it's yeah, scary, scary stuff. Oh my gosh. Yes, you are. Gareth says, I'm in my 40s. LOL. He says, I look young. Yeah, you do. You look like you're about 24. We need all of your secrets. So tell us, how is it that you look 24 and you're in your 40s? Jennifer says, yeah, I wish the Canadian border would open so I can go see my family. Mine and my mom's birthdays are next week. Yeah. Yeah, I bet. That's so that's so tough. I didn't realize that you had family in Canada. Dave is saying, I'm surprised you fall for all the propaganda lies with masks and COVID stuff. Well, I guess the way I look at it is, I guess there's no downside to wearing a mask. I actually really like it. like I um get kind of skeeved out in places anyhow, like grocery stores and kind of public places give me the heebie-jeebies at times, and it's great. I like it. So I guess it doesn't bother me. I would be completely fine if wearing a mask was a thing that we could just do from here on out, especially during flu season. Yeah, JJ was saying there's some great mask designs being made. For real, there are some hilarious ones out there that I love. Gareth said, yeah, his dad was 72 when he died and he looked 40. Yeah, my dad was 78. Is that right? 78, I believe, when he died. And he didn't have any wrinkles at all. It was really wild. And no loose skin either. That was also really wild. He'd lost a lot of weight. He had cancer, and um, he was a big guy to start with, but he'd lost over 100 pounds. And I was really shocked. He had no loose skin. So I don't think I share those same genetics with him, but I'm hoping some of that'll rub off on me. Oh, let's see. Jennifer said, I actually like wearing a mask because I don't feel as much anxiety always having to put a smile on my face. Yeah, I kind of like them. I remember seeing videos of people, like in China or different parts of Asia that had masks on, and I and it I just thought, oh, that's awful. I would hate to have to do that every day. But now I'm like, no, yeah, no, I get it. I could do this. Like I really like it, especially in polluted areas or flu season, stuff like that. So let's see. Yeah, Magalodora saying it surprises me that people think it is propaganda. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't understand that either. I part of me wants this is I guess another conversation for another day. Uh but I feel the need to try to understand all of the different concerns that people have with this because I think we need to start having these conversations, like respectful, um, just kind of solutions oriented conversations about this instead of, kind of just dismissing people because, I want people to be okay. And, um, but I also, I want to know like what are the concerns and is there a middle ground that we can find? Oh yeah, I agree. Magaludor says, yeah, it's just paranoia and ignorance. He says, I'm a specialist in health and disease. I know it's not fake. I agree. I know it's not fake. I'm a former nurse and um, I know some people that have been working on COVID floors and, the whole thing. I guess uh, I don't know. I would be curious. Like I said, it's another conversation for another day, but to hear from people kind of what the concerns are and then to see where we could find kind of that middle ground with addressing those concerns and reassuring them. Yeah, Magalodor says my own uncle had it and recovered, but now his lungs are damaged permanently. Yeah, it's so scary. I'm so sorry. Huh? I haven't seen that episode. Namaste says Elon Musk said on Joe Rogan that in about 20 years we'll probably have AI tech as an augment to our entire brain, which will make talking useless because you can exchange info like 100,000 times more efficiently. Hmm. I'll have to go watch that episode. Has it must be a new one because I saw one with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, but I don't remember that conversation. Yeah, Gareth is saying vitamin D is essential. Yes, I've heard that, and it makes sense, and it's a good for us to have anyhow. So Let's see. Scrolling. Well, guys, I think I might wrap up a little early tonight. I've got another long day ahead of me tomorrow. So let's um let's take some time and just be grounded, get grounded in ourselves, take some deep breaths and get centered. Oh, that feels good to crack my back. So take some time to find a spot that is comfortable, whether you're sitting down or lying down. And let's take a series of, let's do 7 deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And with each breath, allowing it to travel further down into the bases of your lungs, letting your chest rise and fall easily and effortlessly. Allowing the stress and anxiety to just melt away, becoming more comfortable and grounded within yourself. Wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers, feeling your body as you're either sitting down or lying down, feeling whatever it is under you that's supporting you. And continuing to breathe. And realizing that there is so much that is good and right with you, that your body, that yourself is a safe place, and that you have every right to keep yourself safe with your boundaries and your standards and your deal breakers. That there is so much that is right about you. Acknowledging how far you've come and thinking back to all of the little small victories that we're so quick to gloss over. All of the small victories that you've had along the way. Acknowledging just your level of courageousness and determination and curiosity and stick to itiveness. There's just so many good traits within you. And when you're ready, come on back and open your eyes. Okay. Oh, Karen is here from Ireland. Oh my goodness. Lots of people are asking about guided meditations tonight. um, I don't, Magladora, but that's an interesting idea. That might be a thought to just do a live stream that's just a guided meditation. Yeah. And Kenneth, oh gosh, Gareth, don't say that. I think I just, I don't know. My throat's dry. Let's see. Kenneth, I am open to doing ASMR videos. Is there anything, um, like what kind of ASMR were you thinking? I guess what would be the background sound? Well, I guess if anybody has any input on guided meditations or anything in general, let me know down below in the comments or next time I see you on the live stream. And yeah, and we'll go from there. So, okay, guys, take care. Have a wonderful week. And as always, just lots of love to you guys. You are not alone and you are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal. So, take care. And just like I said, lots of love to you.